officially have a cold, so if you see me muting and coughing all the time, and I'd like to say that's why my voice is harsh, but probably talking on videos for the last 5 years every day for a couple videos a day is probably the main reason. As a reminder, if you want the full live stream, it is here on Rumble. It is over here on Locals. And then if you want just the small segments because you're limited on time, you can find those on YouTube on my Odd Man Out News channel. So I'll probably have like 5 videos going up there today. And yes, this is why I chose this to be my thumbnail for the live stream over at Rumble, because I know how you pervs are with women in bikinis. Oh boy, it's been a good weekend. We had a great Saturday night at the movies. You guys should really join over there. Of course, you can become a supporter to go to those events. We watch a couple movies, have a good time, and it's a really good community. Like I'm YouTube, and this is a side note. I'll get to the main story here, or one of the main stories here in just a second. As a side note, YouTube is now testing community notes just like they do on X. The difference is on X, you get kind of a large swath of people. So when you look at the community notes, sometimes it'll be very right-wing, sometimes it'll be left-wing. Usually sanity prevails and you land on something in the middle that is actually truthful. We know those type of people will not be able to be community noting on YouTube. It's going to be basically leftist dogma. It's going to be leftist crap. And we know this. So, over time, I'm going to probably be fine this news cycle because I've only got 25,000 subscribers over on YouTube. So I'll probably be fine. But I will tell you that they've absolutely squashed my Better Bachelor channel. And quite frankly, I'm running out of content to do over there. We have better things to talk about. So if we're going to talk about women in bikinis, it'll probably be best to talk about Harley-Davidson. They've been boycotted at the largest motorcycle event of the year, which is Sturgis. When I was a young lad, I've ridden, I've rode, I've rided, I've had motorcycles since I was 16 years old. I had a very old, like 1976, I think it was, Yamaha 400. And when I was a kid, you wanted a Harley-Davidson. Harley-Davidson was Americana and American flags and tough guys that were wearing leather in 90-degree heat. And they drove around in huge packs that cars would move out of the way for. Like, you were king of the road. And now Harley forgot who their main clientele is. And apparently, bikers that have been paying attention to Harley-Davidson a lot more than I have. I bought an Indian because I didn't want a Harley-Davidson that was made in India and assembled in Mexico. Apparently, bikers have been paying attention a lot longer. And when the CEO got hired, the German guy that was all about, saving the planet and making Harley-Davidson electric, a whole lot of bikers said, nope, I'm out. I'm gone. I'm done with the brand. Well, I've got a follow-up. As you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, I talked about this and how they were called out for being woke and having the LG HD TV Pride stuff in their back rooms and training sessions for those guys. Well, now it's gone way more viral, and it's not just investors and other people paying attention. Speaking of investing, if you look at their stock, I went and looked, and it really is not down for the week or even the month. But if we look at 5 years, that was the interesting one. In 5 years, it's basically even. It's up 3.99% for the past 5 years. That's not good considering we have the most rip-roaringest fake stock market in probably since the 70s. Or maybe after, no, let me take that back. Since the dot-com bubble. So 90s. Only 4% in the last 5 years. That's not good. So that means investors are kind of out, and now the actual bike riders and the bike buyers are out. This is from Fox News, and this is from today, August 7th. They say Harley-Davidson faces woke accusations from Sturgis bikers. It breaks my heart. Iconic American motorcycle muscular image and value of its bikes face headwinds. Harley-Davidson is facing a biker backlash over fears that the American motorcycle manufacturer, born with the renegade image, is now identifying as woke. Harley-Davidson has been one of the most beloved brands in America, but recently, on CEO John Zeitz's watch, they've gone totally woke. Filmmaker Robbie Starbuck shared with his more than 528,000 followers on X in late July. Now, if you remember, I covered that story. I shared some of the things that Harley-Davidson was doing with their training and talking about the bikes need to be 100% electric in, 5 or 10 years. But it's not just that that's bothering bikers. Apparently, it's the whole thing. That they're losing their American muscle, the American brand. You know, one of the things that people can make fun of Americans for many things, our Second Amendment, our obsession with long-range hole punchers, our love of big V8 naturally aspirated engines instead of small little turbos. It has something to do with, well, that's what we call American muscle. It just means it's big, it's beefy, it's loud, it puts out a lot of horsepower, it usually corners like a brick. But that's kind of our passion. Well, now that's going away. And they say the bike brand's apparent decision to volunteer for the culture wars in America has been a high-octane topic at the 84th annual Sturgis Motorcycle Rally in South Dakota this week, according to both attendees and numerous social media postings. I'll have to read this out, and then unfortunately I have to go back and edit this because, I want you to read the news, but bloody YouTube and all their words. It's branding self-deletion. Vinny Terranova, the owner of Pappy's Vintage Cycles in Sturgis, South Dakota, told Fox News on Tuesdays. He said a lot of bikers are switching over to Indian, he said. They've ended Harley. It breaks my heart. And now I told you guys this. I bought an Indian. I have an Indian Scout Rogue, or an Indian 60 Rogue, a Scout Rogue, I should say, which comes in the 60 and the non-60 variant. I bought an Indian Scout, and I really love it. I had an Indian Scout prior to the Rogue series. It was just a regular pearl white Indian Scout. It's a small bike. A small guy like me, I'm all of 5'7" on a tall day. I can sit on the thing with knees bended, and I put a seat back on it and put ape hanger bars. Not really ape hangers. They're only slightly higher. I don't like the real ape hangers, but I got some that are slightly raised, and then I tilted them back towards me. I just loosened the bracket and brought them back towards me. So when I'm riding around my Indian, I'm leaning back against a seat rest, and I got my handlebars back. It's like riding around in a lounge chair. I absolutely love my Indian. And now more people are not that are moving over to Indian than Harley because they're ruining themselves. They say the situation's drawn comparisons to the Bud Light unforced error of 2023 in the wake of the beer brand's decision to partner with Dylan, Mr., or I should say Miss, or Mr., or whatever, Mulvaney, a social media influencer and an activist. Joe Sixpacks launched an organic nationwide boycott against the America's then most popular beer brand. In response, Bud Light has not recovered. I did a story on that. Not a good look. Harley riders have been concerned about the direction of the company since German-born Zeitz took over as CEO at the height of the bug in May 2020, said motorcycle enthusiasts. So it seems that if you're a Harley lover, you've been paying attention and you've been boycotting and you've been moving away from Harley-Davidson since 2020. And the rest of us that have kind of don't pay attention to the Harley thing, a lot of us saw Robbie Starbucks and these other stories that came out about their LGHD TV stuff in the back rooms and the training materials and making sure that we're not too happy to have our skin color and we should feel guilty about things. Well, it turns out that it's that the tip of the iceberg started a long time ago with true Harley enthusiasts. Harley-Davidson motorcycles have faced a sharp decline in perceived value among Harley-Davidson riders, amongst bikers, since his arrival, said Terranova, who ran a Harley-Davidson dealership in Colorado for over 40 years. He said a Harley valued at $30,000 just a few years ago is now only getting $4,000, said the guy. Now, he had a 40-year dealership, but notice it says who ran a Harley-Davidson dealership. It doesn't say who runs a Harley-Davidson dealership. It sounds like he tapped out. Sounds like he got out when the getting was good and he moved on. And, you know, a value of an item is based on supply, demand, perception of value. And so maybe a new motorcycle, a new Harley, or even the old classic ones, if the name becomes tarnished, you don't want to be associated with the name or the brand at all. It doesn't matter if it's an old classic bike. It doesn't matter if it's a new one. And he may be talking about maybe a bike that might not technically be worth $30,000, probably not one of the new loaded bikes, but he's probably talking about an older bike, like from maybe the 70s or the 80s, one of the old flatheads, or if I get some of the terminology wrong, don't come at me. But maybe he's talking about a classic bike that somebody would have wanted because it was an old classic Harley, and now because the name's tarnished, it's just an old bike. That can happen. He said people don't even want to be associated with Harley anymore, he added, expressing his opinion. Fox News Digital reached out to Harley-Davidson, but did not get a reply in time for publication. When filmmaker Starbuck shared on social media what he claims are Harley-Davidson's woke wish list of internal policies, discontent turned to outright outrage for many. Among the wish list, items as noted by Starbuck, sending white men to white male-only diversity training, supporting legislation that would allow men into women's bathrooms, sports and locker rooms, and an all-ages pride event that featured a rage room next to the drag queen story time. Most people feel like they're having explicit topics forced on them at the workplace, which 10 years ago anybody would have seen as the sexual harassing. Starbuck director of the film War on Kids told Fox News Digital by phone the company's alleged DEI focus today contrasts sharply with a loud, muscular, freedom-loving image that has appealed to core customers for decades. Harley riders responded with full-throttle upset. Now, I have a video for you guys. I have a video because they're touching back to the story I did before on this. So don't tune out, though, because I do have a new video from Sturgis, and it shows an apocalyptic fall-off at Sturgis for interest in the Harley-Davidson brand from bikers. And it's bikers that buy bikes. So this isn't just like, oh, the news says this. No, it's actually a real thing. Harley riders responded full throttle upset on social media, and it appears at Sturgis, Harley-Davidson has turned to crap, buy something else was among the comments posted on social media. Someone else said, I heard Harley-Davidson Sturgis HQ is going to be like Bud Light's tent was last year, a biker posted on X last week before the start of the 2024 rally on August 2nd. One video posted on social media on Monday showed only green grass and a few stragglers mingling outside of a Harley-Davidson tent in Sturgis. Not a good look, wrote Starbuck. He said, I guess some bikers just don't want to be associated with them after finding out that Harley went woke. Some longtime Harley riders are saying on social media they're ditching their bikes for new brands with the next purchase. Others are removing the Harley-Davidson name from their motorcycle. That, to me, probably is the better... That's actually how I would go about it. You know, so a lot of these Harleys, you know, you take I don't know, what might be a $15,000 or a $20,000 like Fat Boy or something like that, and the mods for Harley-Davidson are numerous and expensive. And so what probably a lot of these guys are going to do is they'll tune their Harley, they'll make it look like they want it to look, and then they'll just pop off the branding and just, you know, enjoy the bike for as long as it has legs. And then before you sell it, maybe you pop the branding back on it, sell it as a used vehicle, and then, you know, buy an Indian or something else. That's what I would do. You know, you see these protests all the time where people say, oh, Nike just did this crazy thing. I'm going to burn my 20 pairs of Nike sneakers. in protest. It's like, dude, those are still good sneakers. They already have your money. Why melt them all down? That's stupid. What you can do is wear them and enjoy them, or deface them, or mark them up, or do something. Enjoy them, wear them. They're still sneakers. And just stop giving them your money. And it sounds like that's what a lot of bikers are doing. I personally would probably do the same thing. If you can't turn around and sell your Harley for something because no one's interested in it, ride it until the wheels fall off of it. Put it up for $1,000 or $1,500 on something. Some young enthusiast motorcycle rider will say, hey, that's a deal. Maybe he'll debadge it, and you just use it as a machine to ride motorcycles. I mean, that's really what's important about riding motorcycle. I'm sure many of you bikers know that it doesn't really matter who makes the bike. If it's a really good bike, that's what you care about. And so debrand it. They say attendance declined dramatically last week at the annual Harley-Davidson Homecoming, the festival in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the motorcycle maker was founded in 1903. They said about 60,000 people attended the event, according to Milwaukee Sentinel Journal. That's a 25% drop from the 80,000 who took in the festival last year. Now, you might say, wow, 60,000 still a lot of people, and it is. But a 25% drop-off, that is significant. And more than likely, a lot of people haven't heard what's going on with Harley. With Bud Light, it took a little bit of time for it to go from social media to the pubs and the bars, and from there to mainstream. There is a little bit of lead time on that. Well, Starbucks just broke, he just broke the story like last week. I'm sharing it with you guys now. So it will take a little time to kind of get out into the market. But if you look at what happened to Sturgis, it's significant. They say, we changed our plans. Who said? Oh, somebody said, we changed our plans for the Harley-Davidson Homecoming after hearing how Harley-Davidson supports kids. They say, okay, I'll read it right, and then I have to edit this later. I'm so used to doing stuff on YouTube that I'm automatically in change words mode. Let me read it the way they wrote it, and then I'll read it again for the damn YouTube folks. We changed our plans for the HD Homecoming after hearing how Harley-Davidson supports and grooms, wrote one Harley rider. Supports the kiddos and the kiddo lovers. That's what it there. I'll use that for YouTube. The outcry over Harley's apparent woke turn comes in the heels of noticeable changes in the public face of the brand. Harley last year ditched its globally iconic logo of orange and white lettering on a black shield. Its new logo is an empty metallic shell, the same shape but different colors and no words. The old logo undeniably conveyed a sense of heritage, a connection to the brand's storied past, British graphic designer firm LMRT reported in its outline analysis. Yet the new logo seems to symbolize a departure from convention, a leap toward modernity, and an invitation to reimagine the essence of Harley-Davidson. Oh boy, if that's not a overbuzzed used word in the last 3 years. Reimagine. Wait, do I have any of my sound effects? We do. Reimagine. Reimagine. All right, I'm glad that's finally working now. Harley-Davidson was founded in Milwaukee in 1903, William Harley, etc., etc., small combustion engines, motorcycles, etc. In 2023, it produced 160,000 bikes, making it one of the world's largest motorcycle companies. Harley-Davidson Incorporated is the parent company of Harley-Davidson Motor Company, etc., etc., etc. They have a controlling interest in Livewire Group, the first publicly traded all-electric motorcycle company in the U.S., the company notes. But if you remember from my previous video, there's Zero Motorcycles. I've had a Zero motorcycle. They've been around for, I think, about a decade now out of California. They make an amazingly good electric motorcycle. They're more of a sports-looking motorcycle. And they've got a lot more fun, a lot more experience in the motorcycle. So if Harley decides to go ahead with this Livewire Group, who's to say a company like Zero doesn't just have their designers come up with a different shape of a bike, more like a like a Cafe Cruiser or something, and put their electronics into it. And they're ahead of Harley by a decade on this stuff. So Harley-Davidson, they're paying the price. Here's the video from Sturgis. And I'll play it here a little bit. Let me turn down the audio on the videos. And that's it across the road, and you can see a whole lot of emptiness. They do have some bikes on display. At first, I thought maybe that's bikers that were parked there to go to the event, but it looks like Harley's own bikes. Because I don't see any people. There's a couple people walking by in the street. Maybe there's, 15 people over there. It just, and they got a little background music here, so I'll pull it down so I don't get zinged for that. There is 20, 30, if we're going to be generous, there's 30 people over there. And maybe 30 bikes. So maybe they are the owners of there. But normally, you can see, as a matter of fact, you see the new Harley-Davidson badge. It doesn't have Harley-Davidson or anything written on it. It's just the black, white outline of the symbol. And there's nobody over there, man. This is devastating for Harley. Sturgis is the biggest biker event. It is all about Harley and Indian, and everybody's packing in there. And you can see they don't even have Harley written on the badge anymore. What a devastatingly stupid thing to do. Let me tell you how stupid this is of Harley. They've ruined themselves. They've absolutely ruined themselves. Big Bear says, I've worked the rally before and it's always packed. That's crazy, but expected. The Budweiser tents were that way last year. Robbie says, I'm taking your all's word for it because I've seen it before. This guy, Illuminati, says, who knew? The cool kids are now riding something different than Harley. I'm no longer the freak for preferring my goose. So yeah, a lot of people are saying, nope, we've moved on. Devastating for them. Absolutely devastating. So, it's a lesson as old as time. And, I talked about the thing about if you remember, on my previous videos a few days ago, I talked about the yen carry trade stuff that was going on, deficit carry trades, whatever they call it, where companies were borrowing money from Japan and investing it over here, and everything fell off the cliff. And then all of a sudden, everything's back again. Everything's back again because the Japan was basically like, oh, so sorry, we'll bring our interest rates down to zero so we don't crash the global economy. So if you wonder why, sorry, I'm getting a phone call and everything's buzzing around me in my watch, my phone. If you ever wonder why everything's falling off the edge and then all of a sudden it's fine again, it's because of this carry trade stuff or debt carry trade that's happening over in Japan. Well, companies like this, what's propping them up is the BlackRocks. It is, because I guarantee you, if I go back here and I look at the investors, I haven't looked at this ahead of time. Let me click it on here on investors. What do you bet? BlackRock, Vanguard. Let's see what we got. Morgan Stanley has they've increased yeah, look at this, right? Investigo increased stake by 100%. Morgan Stanley increased by 10%. Dimensional Fund Advisors by 6%. American Century by 42%. Millennium Management Group increased their stake by 1,500%. Let's look at the top shareholders. Are you ready? Are you ready, kids? Vanguard Group, there it is. H Partners Management, BlackRock, Fidelity, Butyl, Boston Partners, Dimensional Funds, Jupiter Fund Management, LSV Asset Management, State Street. There it is in the top three, BlackRock and Vanguard. There it is. So what these investment groups are doing, I bet, this is just a guess, But I bet they're taking a lot of that money, the free money in Japan they can borrow, and they're putting it into companies like this. And they say, look, we know you're going to go through a transition period. We know you're going to be going through a transition period. We know you're going to lose money. Don't worry about it. We will prop up your stock. We'll make sure that we hold you afloat until, things settle down. People will forget and they'll come back. I don't think, if you look at Bud Light, if you look at what's happened to if you look at Hollywood's never recovered after the poke and the jab and all that stuff. And all of the the heroes of the Hollywood coming out and telling us it's okay to lose our jobs and do what's right as they sit in their multi-million dollar mansions telling us to shut up and put on a mask and stay home from work, and who cares if you can't feed your family. Those same Hollywood people, that's never recovered. And so as we go into a hard time financially, I think what'll happen, and don't mark my words on this, but this is just my guess. I think many of these investment companies like BlackRock and Vanguard and some of these others, along with our government, I think they made some phone calls to Japan, to their government, and they said, look, don't increase the yield on the yen just yet. Don't do it yet. Because we don't want everything to fall off right before an election where the bad orange Cheeto might win. We can't have that. Because remember, the BlackRock and the Vanguards are the ones pushing all this change and diversity, all this other stuff. They're pushing it. And so if the market falls off right before the election, then the orange Trump Cheeto, evil Cheeto might get in. I'm betting they made some phone calls and they told Japan just chill for a couple more months, and then once we get the election behind us, then you can dump off. This is why the other day I talked about the cat bounce in financing. The hike was a few days ago, but didn't they reverse it? How did the Nikkei index? Let me see if they reversed on this. Oh, there it is right there. Bank of Japan Deputy Governor Shinji Uchida said on Wednesday the central bank won't raise interest rates when financial markets are unstable. The recent strengthening of the yen would affect the BOJ's policy decision because it reduces upward pressure on import prices and their overall inflation. They got the phone call. Guys, that said, don't you dare increase those interest rates any further until at least after the election. And so they're not going to raise it anymore. And that's why the Nikkei bounced back 12% after falling 12%. It's pressure from BlackRocks and Vanguards and the United States governments and other places saying, just wait. And again, this is an educated guess. But it's just wait. Just wait until we get past the election, and then you can make the adjustments. And if it's Trump, we'll blame it on Trump. And if it's Harris that's our president, we'll blame it on Trump. because that's what they do.